I have the privilege of introducing our first pitcher, Mikhail Heinonen. Mikhail is the co-founder of Collaborloop, a social enterprise, and Michael and I were very lucky to have Mikhail as one of our deconstruction podcast guests, one of our very first. So thank you for all the pod guests in the audience tonight. Mikhail, as part of this social enterprise purpose, Mikhail also powers Apprentice Plus, which is a hub, and it gives free life skills content and engagement tools to apprentices, graduates and trainees in the construction industry. So before I take over Mikhail's pitch, I'll hand over the mic.
You were doing such a good job. Hello everyone. I wonder how this is going to go. Everyone's got drinks, and so I'm the first cab off the rank. So I don't know. Here we go. So my name's Mikhail. I'm a co-founder of Collaborloop. We're a social enterprise founded in 2021. Essentially, we started to basically want to change culture in the construction industry. But today, rather than just a pitch, I want to take more of a slightly different approach, considering this is an innovation event. So I want it to be more of an advocacy type presentation, if I may. So I guess just to kick off in terms of my background, 30 years in the sector, started working, labouring for my dad in school holidays as a landscaper. Decided I loved the industry, went off and did a quantity surveying degree, wanted to be an architect, wasn't good enough. So then I ended up working for clients at client side for a while, then contractors, and then in 2021 started Collaborloop. But from about 2019 onwards, I'd been studying researching culture, and specifically culture and construction. And it was the years before that. So the last place where I was working was as a Bechtel. I was there 11 years, and it wasn't necessarily Bechtel, but I was just getting a bit, bored. I was just getting sick of the whole adversarial nature of the industry. And the industry can be tough, but that adversarial nature is and this might be controversial, but that's what stops the innovation in the industry. People putting up the walls, they're not talking. It stops the flow of trust and information. So if we can actually look at how we communicate and how we engage, and actually if we start listening, then there's a potential. Yeah, so if we actually listen and we actually start embracing inclusion, collaboration, putting the ego at the door and actually looking what can we do for the industry, then we can actually start looking at solving some of the challenges that we're all talking about, whether or not it's skills crisis or productivity or profitability, or even the well-being aspects, which we all know about. And so, again, when we're talking in the context of today, in terms of innovation, there's a lot of talk out there that innovation's that silver bullet that's going to solve all those problems, whether or not it's productivity and the like. But again, we're being held back in doing things because of that adversarial nature and not that collaborative approach. We need to look at how we can actually embrace a collaborative culture. So culture itself is it's a thing. You can't create culture. You have to just let it happen. It's an emergent thing. At the end of the day, it's all about the conditions and that you let culture breed. So a bit like a plant. If you allow a plant the conditions, it can thrive and it can grow. That's the same with culture. Same with if you look at how long it takes for a plant to grow. Culture needs time. It needs time to embed its roots. You need to allow trust to basically flow through. There's a saying that collaboration moves at the speed of trust. So again, when you're looking at culture, there's a spectrum in terms of that maturity of that culture, which needs to also be addressed. And again, like a plant, you don't expect from day one that plant's going to be giving you fruit. It needs time to grow to its maturity till it can give you that fruit. So it's the same thing. If we're expecting to be able to adopt innovation and the like, again, we need to move along that maturity scale. So a bit about Collaborloop. So a lot of it's in the name, as you can probably guess. So we want to help organisations, I guess, find those the keys to I guess unlocking that collaboration aspect or culture within the organisations. So we work across a multitude of sizes of organisations, whether or not it's small business with an apprentice or it's a large organisation with on a mega project. And we want to collaborate with industry as well to enable that we have those thriving workforces, because at the end of the day, our vision is that we want a construction industry to be the industry of choice across all of community. So in terms of what we actually do and how we do that, again, as I mentioned before, we sort of go across the different spectrums of the industry in terms of the size of organisations. There's a couple of key aspects. So we like to capture signals. So we do that and look at the data. We've built a platform that basically sends out SMS messages, so we can do targeted, automated, regular messages and questions. The responses come back via SMS, and that can then be pushed real time to a database and then visualised on an online dashboard. And then we would use that information and look at those challenges and then actually go, okay, well, what is the relevant and timely content that we might want to push to that individual or to that cohort? And then we overarch that with a bit of with coaching. So at the moment, mentoring's in vogue, but we like to think that coaching is the way to go, because at the end of the day, we need to embrace that people need to deal with their own challenges. We can't help everyone. We can't cuddle everyone. So people need to be able to basically build their own resilience, whether or not it's an apprentice on a job site or it's a leader on a mega project. And as Emily alluded to as well, I should probably get up here to sell it again, but yes, as I said before, we're a social enterprise, and from that social enterprise, we have a purpose, and that purpose we use to drive our products and services, but we also do pro bono utilisation as well of our platform to industry organisations and other sort of like-minded companies to basically better the industry. And we've also established Apprentice.plus. So the website Apprentice.plus is basically a free website where we're building content with collaborators, where we can offer free life skills to apprentices, graduates, trainees for the sector, so they can actually access those things and deal with the challenges that's relevant to them. So again, thank you. There's a QR code, so if anyone's got a phone, there's a bit of a survey. I'm very about continual improvement, so just a couple of questions on there, and like to keep the conversations going. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mikhail. Hi everyone, my name is Craig Holmes. I'm a Senior Associate at Helix Legal. Our next pitcher is Richard McEwen. He's the founder of E2E5 Platforms, which is part of the Integrated Capital Group. This group provides private infrastructure, platform services, and fintech applications for a broad range of financial transactions. E2E5 Trust is in beta release and proving to be a must-have cash flow management and compliance solution that gives complete control over project and retention trusts. Can everyone please welcome Richard? Thank you. Just give you that.
Oh. All right. Hello. Firstly, thanks to Helix Legal for organising this event and asking me to speak. And also, thanks for coming along to listen to what a high-tech future with construction trusts might look like for you. Is that working okay? There's my phone. So the problem that we're solving, and I will do this as a pitch, so it is put together as a pitch. So the problem we're solving is a lack of compliance software for construction trusts that fits neatly with existing systems without a lot of complex handoffs, and that avoids the risks and penalties and fines under the Building Industry and Fairness Act. So our solution to this problem has been to build cloud-based trust software that integrates with all of the off-the-shelf general ledger packages commonly used by contractors for their primary working account general ledger systems. So we're in discussions with MyOb, Xero and other providers to become part of their ecosystem for bundling our E2E-Fi Trust product with their flagship products. Of course, you can keep using any of your applications that update your general ledger, such as PayApps, Procore and similar, because we extract the data at the primary general ledger level. So once the data is synchronised onto our platform and cross-reconciled, we use scenario rules to maintain a fully compliant smart trust ledger, which can talk back and forth with the primary work account general ledger systems. Our solution is, from a technical point of view, it's very readily scalable. Our software is written in cloud-native protocols such as React for highly responsive applications. And we've built our own smart database of all the possible trustee beneficiary scenarios, which can generate appropriate updates for each scenario for posting to ledger accounts. And that's really what we now call our smart ledger system. So it's essentially a smart general ledger. And we're using enterprise-grade technology for immutability and audit verification purposes. And I'm certainly the fin side rather than the tech side, but we have a team of software developers working on it as we speak. So because this is a pitch, I'll do it as a pitch, and every good pitch should have an ask. And the ask I'm going to put out there is we'd like to get as much real financial data as we possibly can get our hands on that is from trust account bank accounts. It's really to help us stress test our platform before our go live date, which will be in June 23. So we've done extensive modelling already with data that QBCC provided, but we would definitely like to get more data, as much or as little as anyone has in any particular format that's available. You can anonymise that data and we'll sign an NDA if that's required. But we're happy to receive that data, run it through our system that we're building, and we're happy to share the outcome of what your data looks like in a smart trust ledger system. So just a little bit about us. That was the ask. Sorry, I'm not very good on controlling doing everything at once, not a multitasker. So about us. So why would you give us your data and, hand it over to us? So we're a fintech scale-up and we're based here at the precinct. I'm a chartered accountant by profession and have a team of IT professionals working in-house directly behind, basically our office is directly behind the Stair Stadium. So we develop and support software for our E2E-Fi platforms. And the common thread in all the applications that we develop is that they are for contracts about money with specific terms and conditions about how that money is to be used by the parties to those contracts. So we also provide private cloud for accounting practices throughout Australia using Microsoft products, but I say that purely because that's why we do have a lot of insight into general ledgers and integration with general ledgers. We deal with a lot of accounting software as it is now. So that really is just as at the end of December 22, across various products that we have, but it's really private credit continues to be our mainstay product, and it's running, it's up and running now, and we have funds are being lent out and assets developed and loans repaid. It's written specifically as a peer-to-peer first mortgage lending system via legally binding, lawyer-prepared loan contracts with all transactions controlled and recorded on our platform. And essentially we disintermediate the banks in that process by putting family office money and funding directly into the hands of suitably qualified borrowers, predominantly property developers, and they are suitably qualified, and so it's a relatively small stable of borrowers that we currently have. But it was really, we first reviewed the Building Industry Fairness and Security Payments Act from the perspective of our private credit system. But it soon became obvious that the common thread I mentioned before is present within the trust accounts and the trust requirements, namely contracts about money with specific terms and conditions about how that money is to be used by the parties to those contracts. So in this case, contracts, of course, are head contracts and subcontracts and trustee and beneficiary relationships. It is about money because there's project trust account bank accounts and project trust and retention trust account bank accounts. And there are specific terms and conditions that, particularly with the trust stuff, trust requirements, because there's legislative requirements as well as contractual requirements that need to be dealt with. And so those different obligations specify how those parties to those contracts need to interact. So really that was where and why E2E Trust started to be developed as a separate, as a totally separate product. And so we have been working on that for some time, and our current capability is we can set up trust accounts on our system, sub-ledgers, we've built a full suite of all the notifications required under the legislation, payment claims and schedules can be completed, and there are bank feeds and reconciliations. So what we plan on doing, what we're going to do, is we're going to release that as a contractor version in June, by the end of June 23, so not far away. And then progressively from then we will continue developing the software and release a subcontractor version which will comply with all of the requirements that subcontractors need, access to ledgers, but only specific things related to them. And in addition to that, the big piece which we're doing now, it's underway and expected to be completed really by the end of December 23, will be the integration with all of the general ledger packages that contractors use, or most of the common general ledger packages, most of which are quite open, have very good APIs in and out of. And in addition to that, we're working on the project in certain cases, but predominantly retention trust account requirements that are popping up from other states, and we will prepare versions of our software that will handle the requirements under those different jurisdictions as and when they're complete. I have kept this specifically to 7 minutes, which I hope I'm still on, but that's a very high level overview about us and how we hope to contribute to a not so stressful high-tech future for the construction industry. Thanks very much for listening. I don't know if I've got much time. Happy to take any questions you may have or talk to you afterwards, but I would be very interested to hear everyone's views on trust accounts from their perspective, and also I'd be very interested to hear if anyone would like to talk to me about how we could access some data to run through and stress test our platform. That is it. Thank you for listening. Okay. Want this back? Oh, yes, you'll have to skip through. That's...
Thank you, Richard. Our next two pitches that will be presenting back-to-back are John and Cozzy, and they are going to be pitching from Blockstar's technology in the world of blockchain and smart contracts. And if you're like me, I want to start with the question, what is blockchain? So I'll hand it over. There you go. This is the clicker.
Any button?
Just forward and back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'll pop this on you. I'll pop this on you, John.
I've got to have my
There we are.
a radiation detector, I think. No, hopefully not. Now, I had intended to wander around, but I won't because I need 3 hands. Before I start, before Emily presses the go button, I'd like to say a couple of things. Firstly, I want to thank Helix and Michael and Emily for not only the opportunity of speaking with you, but also for the courage they have in starting to highlight the issues around the construction industry that have emerged over the last 12 months or so. It's not very long. And what we intend to do about it. And I'm delighted to be here with Cozzy to be able to help. Now, the second thing is I've been promoted to Blockstars. In fact, I'm an imposter. I'm not a Blockstars person. But I've got to tell you that Blockstars are great friends and colleagues, and they're really exciting people to work with. It's just such fun. So thanks, guys. We'll be talking to Cozzy soon. And thirdly, most of what I'm going to tell you is my observations and opinions from a long time. So if you disagree, please, jump onto LinkedIn and tell me I don't know anything. I'll be delighted because I'd rather know than not know. Thank you. I first encountered automation in 1969 with the first attempts to develop automated bills of quantities, and of course it was way too early and it failed. But I've kind of been interested ever since in techie sort of stuff, don't know why. For the last 15 years, we've really concentrated our business, part of our business, on developing productivity software for the construction industry. I have to say the reception has been less than overwhelming. Even as late as 5 years ago, you'd speak to people about it and they'd say, well, what's the problem? I'm okay. Or they'd say, well, but this might give someone else an advantage if I don't want that. That's the kind of attitude that prevailed until this year. And suddenly we've got a crisis on our hands, and everyone is looking for the solution. On top of that, there's this huge interest of the emergence of artificial intelligence and other modern technologies that people are looking at and going, hang on a minute, things are going to change, and they're going to change in a hurry. So, you know, we can do two things. We can either wait and be swamped, or we can ride the wave, because it's going to be exciting and a lot of fun. Already there's significant organisations that are now starting to see the problem and understand the problem and are looking for solutions, and that includes the Master Builders and the Australian Constructors Association, really thinking about the issues, governments, and of course people like Helix and ourselves who've been looking at these problems for a long time. One thing we do know is that history tells us that change isn't always necessarily progress. In fact, it often isn't progress. In my opinion, we've been sleepwalking towards these problems for probably something like 40 years without really thinking about what was going to happen, because, you know, you cannot predict the outcome of cultural change. Anyone will tell you that. So where are we? There's no trust between contracting parties, and worst of all, from our perspective, is there's no confidence that we can get it right. And you've only got to look at all the wry smiles lately about the Tassie Stadium to understand what people think about it. Everyone goes, 700,000? I don't think so. 700 million, sorry. I don't think so. We've got to change that. The difficulty we have is our system that we've developed over this period of time, it definitely inhibits progress on construction sites, and we know that. It creates a lot more work, a lot more conflict that we really don't need and we don't want. We know from a lot of research that it stifles innovation and technology uptake, and in my opinion, it's basically no longer fit for purpose. We've got to change it. What are the issues we have? Well, look, the problem is our industry. We're not Zara, or we're not Amazon. We're not one big organisation that controls and mines huge amounts of data that's in structured format. And the problem is, what's happened over the last 40 years is what I say, there's no whole of business framework. What I mean by that is we've given up on things like standard forms of contract. There's no standard process and procedure through the industry. There are very few data standards left, and those that are there are not in very good condition, I have to say. And these are the things we've got to change over time. On top of that, of course, it's all now deeply embedded in legislation and contract, which makes it even worse and harder to change. So here's the current status as I understand it. Essentially, where we've kind of stopped at is these project information management systems that are run and owned by major contractors mainly. They're essentially an accounting system with a project information management bit clapped on. Look, they've been terrific over the years, but I know that I started marketing CSSP in 1985 in Brisbane, and I did that for quite a while until it was taken over. These were great in their day, but I don't think that they are going to continue to have the dominance that they have at this point in time. So what do we really got to try and achieve? What we've got to do is rebuild trust between the parties. We want transparent, productive, workable processes, and we've got to rebuild confidence, and that's the number one most important thing. We've got to rebuild confidence with our clients that we can, as an industry and as a group of people, perform on time and on budget. It's got to happen. And we can do that now with new enabling technologies. Who are the leaders in this world at the moment? Ben Flyberg, the guy in the middle, has been researching this stuff for 25 years. He really is on top of what happens in projects culturally and in every other respect. That book is very definitely worth reading. People like Martin Paver down here is right over the top of analytics. These are all Englishmen, by the way, unfortunately. He's deeply into analytics. They're all saying that the construction industry is one of the more difficult things because we can't gather the data in structured forms. Now, it doesn't have to be totally structured these days because, as we know, there's a lot of ways to teach data, but there's got to be some structure in it. So, up the top here, our own Australian Constructors Association have also recognised the problem. They have come up with some options and some plans to start to push forward their push is for a fairer industry, and we can all accept that is for sure. I thought it was a terrific start. I don't know that there's anyone who's actually dug right down at the moment and said, but where are we going to start? What is that point at which we've got to start? And that's what we've got to find. Now, we have been working in this world for quite a long time. Cosy and his team at Blockstars are over there. Once we start to see the convergence of building process automation and blockchain technologies, blockchain applications, this is going to absolutely change the landscape completely, and I mean completely. We're currently looking at things like smart contract. Now, it's a little way down the track, but what it's going to do is provide absolutely seamless automated processes for a construction contract, and seamless automated payment through the system. That will completely do. I'm sorry to tell you, it's going to completely do away with trusts. We're going to be looking ultimately at digital currencies, probably through the Australian Reserve Bank digital currency platform, those sorts of things that are all coming out now. This is going to be a big change. What it's going to do is improve everybody's life. We're looking at a fair deal tendering system, which is a system that's going to do away with the second chop of negotiations and all the corruption that brings. And we know there's plenty of it. This low-level corruption that really needs to be weeded out of the industry. Look, we're kind of there. All the tools are there. Some of them a little bit rusty, and they need to be sharpened up. But in some respects, there's a few starting points. And the first one for me is understanding the complexity of the interactions. And the internet has really taught us that. The internet has taught us how complex interactions are, and our building interactions are the same. We all think we've got a simple job. It is far from simple. What I want to show you is a little example of the sort of thing I'm talking about. This is how the construction payment system works in Queensland. This, on the appointed day, you know what it is, the one day of the month, the appointed day, this little guy runs out and looks at his building and says, okay, now what have I done this month, right? And then he passes that back to his office and they shoot a payment claim into the contractor's office. And then he does it, and he does it, and they all do it, all on the same day. And this girl in the office goes, holy hell, what have I got here? So she thinks, well, I know what I'll do. I'll do what I always do. I'm going to flick this to my site manager. So it all goes across to him, and he does the same. He goes and has a look at the job, works out what each one of those 50 guys he thinks should be paid, and fires it back to her, which is just terrific. She then does a payment schedule for each one of those persons and shoots it off to them, and provided they agree with it and don't want to argue with it, ultimately she pays them some money, either directly or you do it through a project trust account. And that's how the system works. The number one objective of construction is progress. This guy here is not doing anything about his job at this point in time. He's just worrying about all this stuff. This is how it could happen. See these two guys up here? They're two of the 40 who are going to put in a payment claim this month. Now what they do is at the end of every day, they take out their mobile phone and they add their progress into a really simple or a complicated construction program like this one. I use this. It's a terrific little system. Everything can be ultimately worked into this system. So they at the end of the day, that's what they do. On the appointed day, they get paid. Just like that. It can all be automated. It's not that hard. We can do this really quickly. And they're happy. they get a pay slip, unless they argue about it. They're pretty excited. This guy up here, he avoids all that extra work. He gets the bonus of daily progress, so he knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And the boss down here, he's even happier because he gets a daily earned value calculation, and he knows where the money's going and whether he's winning or losing money every single day. That's the kind of stuff that is just around the corner. We can do this today. This in itself will save 2.5% of the construction costs. 2.5%. I've got 20 of these, which I can show you.
Hi, morning, John.
Right, thank you. I knew it would be. Here's the nexus that has to be broken. We've got to break the nexus between contract and process and data and knowledge and money. That's what's got to happen. What is going to open the floodgates to change? In my opinion, the very first simple, easy first step is to start thinking about rules-based shared financial data. Owners and clients and governments need to come to the understanding that this is one of their most valuable assets. They need to own it, value it, use it. It's really important. After that, really, all we have to do is just, put our fear away and get into it and do it. So I'm now going to introduce you to a real blockchain person from Blockstars, my dear friend Cozzy. Have her in there. Come on, Cozzy, you can go and tell them all about blockchain.
I'll give you that.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I'll pop this on you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for the Helix team for inviting us. Emily, thank you so much. And John as well. So I took some notes so that I don't have a presentation, awesome presentation. I love all the presentations, pretty cool. So I'm going to just pick some of the items that Mikhail and Richard spoke about. So first of all, I love what Mikhail, I believe Mikhail mentioned. He mentioned the word culture. I'll just touch base a little bit on that. We are a tech company, but we are governed by a simple rule. It's not a guideline, it's a rule. All of us adhere to that rule. And it's called people first, culture second, results third. And like you said, culture can't be taught, it can only be caught. You can't teach people what the culture is, but people just get it when they see it. So, great belief of that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Love your presentation. So, and in the last, actually 3 presentations, the word trust was used quite a bit. Now, we need trust when we involve people. Where there aren't any people, you don't trust a vending machine. We don't trust a vending machine. We just put the coins and we expect the drink to just arrive. So same thing, the beauty of the blockchain, as Richard presented in his presentation, the beauty of the blockchain is you remove the trust factor and the blockchain becomes a trustless system because you can verify, and that's the beauty of the blockchain. So, and the innovation in the industry. So, like you said, Mikhail, I think we are at the cusp of the change coming, and it's coming really, really fast. Next week, I'll be in Sydney at the one of the events, the CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency use cases, and one of them is in the construction industry, how the CBDCs can be used in the construction industry payments. That means automating payments at the wholesale level, not at the retail or the subcontractor level. So what does it mean? It means it's going to remove the reliance on people, and all that will be controlled by smart contracts. Now, smart contracts, they are not smart and they are not contracts. They are not legally binding. I'm in front of all these legal people. So I thought initially I'd be like, oh my God, I'll be out of my depth. But then when Richard and Mikhail talks about, like, okay, I think I might be able to talk in front of this crowd, so which is fantastic. And so they are not contracts and they are not smart, they're just software. they get executed. If this one is true, they get executed, and that information goes on an immutable ledger. Richard mentioned that in a consortium blockchain, which means consortium means few organizations like construction companies, legal entities can come together and say whether they agree or do not agree. And if they agree, that goes onto a blockchain, which is a digital ledger, that it's immutable. That means you can't change anything. Once it goes there, it's set in stone, and you can only add records to it. And that's how you build trust, because you can verify the information. It's simple as that. There's nothing else to it apart from that. So then, and I believe that's what Richard mentioned about the smart ledger. So if I talk about Blockstars, how long have I got? 1 minute and 55 seconds. All right, so if I talk about Blockstars, we are founded 2 years ago. We are in Gold Coast business. Currently, we are about 75 people. Apart from 2 people, everyone else is in Australia, and one of the persons who's in Australia went to Iran to look after his parents. He's coming back, and one of the devs in Dubai, he's coming back to the Gold Coast as well. We are great believers in Australia, what Australia brings, add value. So we want to grow that those skills and add value to Australians. So Blockstars might seem like a dev house, but we are not a dev house. I would say maybe about 90-10 percentage, because we are more like an incubator. So currently with Blockstars, we have around about 14 startups that we are incubating, and I'm lucky to be the Chief Operations Officer for Blockstars, and I have Maureen here, who's our in-house legal, one of the smartest people I've ever met, and Nathan, our head of social media as well. So we are we run as a family. I hired my first employee who came to fix my roof because he had the passion, not the skill. I can upskill anyone with YouTube, enough Udemy, shut them in a room, you can upskill anyone, but you can't teach them passion or culture. Once you find someone passionate and have you think they got the right culture, I think you just have to give everything what you want, what you have. And as Mikhail said, growing a plant, and I thought like, my God, I feel like Mikhail pretty much maybe we had the same wavelength, because we have an ROI on our people. So ROI for us, for a person, anyone who joins Blockstars, is 18 months. It's not because people think like, oh, I can come and work here, I can cut code and all that stuff. And that is important, but that's the third most important thing, because that's the result. For us, 18 months is what it takes someone to immerse themselves and learn what the culture is, because some people catch it by osmosis, but we are all about conscious to conscious transfer that culture, and you can only code. So I just want to digress a little bit from the technology, but it all comes to the technology, and being in the blockchain, it gives freedom to a lot of people. Having that blockchain technology, if you look at as overall technology. So people think blockchain and crypto are same. They are 2 different things. So think of the website on the internet, same as cryptocurrencies on the blockchain. We don't do cryptocurrency trading, even though I do have some crypto up and down. I have never learned my lesson. I'm still thinking one day I'm going to make it. But we are great believers on the blockchain, but not crypto. So please, I would say, spend some time, learn about blockchain. It's a digital ledger, that's all it is. And for contracts and to record activities, there's nothing better out there at this stage. So on that note, I just want to give the mic back to Emily. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, please. Thank you. Oh. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Nicole and I'm a law graduate at Helix Legal. I have the pleasure of introducing our next pitcher, Hugh Campbell. Hugh is the CCO of Jonas Premier, a construction software. And with that, I'll hand it over to Hugh. Thank you.
So I'm starting a little bit differently, guys. I've got a video that I thought would waste some time, but actually when I timed myself today, it took 11 minutes to finish this speech. So again, that's me. Let's see if we can get this to work. It's meant to be sound, wasn't it? Sorry. That's all right. And that's my pitch, thank you. Yeah, so as I introduced before, my name is Hugh Campbell, I'm the CCO at Premier Software. A bit of a different style pitch today, it's more of an introduction to our software. So I've actually only been with the business for about 5 weeks now. I'm on a national tour, trying to visit all of our customers and also introduce everyone that I can to the product. So who is Premier? Has anyone heard, I'm sure the Helix people have heard of Premier, but anyone else heard of Jonas Premier or Premier? And a few people. Okay, great. Excellent. So to start with, basically an advanced financial and project management software. We're lucky to be owned by the Constellation and Jonas software groups. So for those of you that don't know, Constellation is a major group that owns now, I think, 800 companies it's acquired over its life, but we're the first software that's actually been built for purpose by Constellation. Because of the gap in the market. The product's been available both here and in North America for about 8 years, and our local clientele has all been through referrals. So hence me trying to meet people and expand our network. So again, built out of Canada for both the North American and the Australian sectors. What is Premier? So again, you just watched the video, so you've got a bit of an idea. But it's a software that's designed specifically for the head contractor and development sectors, replacing accounting software and payroll, and then adding in project management technology as well. We're focused on collaboration and automation, and basically combining departments. So your finance department with your projects department and your site team as well. Where do we sit in the market? So look, our major competitors at this stage would probably be JobPack, Cheops, MyOb Advanced, and then we also have indirect competitors such as Xero, MyOb, and project management software as well. The benefit that we've got is our major competitors are sitting on legacy software. So a lot of those softwares have also been acquired by US businesses and are less localised now in the Australian market. Which is exactly why we're touring around to introduce the product to as many people as we can. So the difference with Premier is that we're a modern cloud-based software, so it was rebuilt on the back of Silverlight. Simple UI, connection to mobile, focus on providing a world-class, I'm reading this now because I made this afternoon, so excuse me, localised for APAC as well. So clientele in Australia, we have about 200, and again, this has all been through referrals. So we have an amazing clientele base, and they'd like to talk about us, obviously. So in front of you here, you see our major Queensland clients, and then we have a further 600 clients in North America as well. So innovation, how do we innovate at Premier? Innovation is very important, nice little funny little comic there for you as well to break it up, but basically via technology, connection and our future roadmap. Excuse me. So technology, so this will mean a lot to some of you, a lot of you maybe, and very little to the rest. But basically, our bones behind the software, it was rebuilt on the back of Silverlight about 6 years ago, looking forward to the next kind of 10 to 15 years. So again, compared to our competitors that have a lot of skeletons in the closet because they don't actually mention that to their clients, and in the next probably 12 to 24 months, they're going to need to upgrade their framework or merge with other technologies as well. Connection. So we're a leader with a Canadian and Australian style of communication. So you guys will know probably a lot of other construction technology companies playing in the space. They lead with an American style kind of communication, which is pretty abrupt. Get the customers in, make sure that they're set up, and then just let it run. We work a little bit differently. So we connect directly with our clients and their staff, hence me traveling around the country in the next 4 weeks. Industry leaders, that's both our existing clients, but also other industry leaders, other building companies that may be clients of ours in the future, but not necessarily. Everyone sitting in the room here today. Local authorities and governing bodies, and everyone's talking about trust accounting. So we're in fortnightly meetings with QBCC about the same thing as everyone's discussing as well, looking at how we can move forward with trust accounting within our software. Experts providing other services in the industry, whether it's legal, such as Helix, finance, and other businesses. And again, a global approach with a localised focus on the product working for the Australian market. The future roadmap. So again, with a huge team in North America backing us up, we've got some exciting advances coming in the next 12 months. So trust accounting, been mentioned probably more than anything else between all of the speakers today. Financial functionality, so we're also going to be able to have bank feeds in the software similar to how Xero does, and so you can reconcile directly with your bank. Advanced custom reporting and dashboards, project management tools, so a competitor but slightly indirect competitor, Procore, is known in the industry of having very good site management tools, and that's something that we're now looking at kind of introducing, so drawing management and site connection so that we can keep everyone on a single platform. Strategic API integration partners, so rather than having an open API for everyone in a marketplace, very strategic. Partnerships that we're talking with a health and safety company, which is a startup out of Melbourne, that's going to have a very simple process and connect properly rather than just on the outside like a lot of them do. And the X10 or 10X growth plan in the next 5 years, both here and in North America. And that is me. Thanks very much. Love to chat to any of you afterwards. And thanks again to Helix for having us today.
I'm pleased to introduce Kurt from Quick Safety. Quick Safety is an electrical compliance testing application. Kurt was telling me earlier that this started going for about 7 years now, which I think is quite terrific. And Kurt was one of the original features of the Helix Legal Innovation Series back when we were at Helix Legal 3 or 4 years ago. So please join me in welcoming Kurt.
Didn't you know what I had to have a cough before? Thanks very much, and thanks for Helix as well. Once again, we'll get all the hands going. So what we do is electrical compliance, and everybody usually shuts off about this time because you mention anything in the compliance sector and everybody just shuts off.
Try being a lawyer.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I've been in this industry now for, I don't mind saying how long I've been in this industry. So 43 plus years I've been in and around this industry. So 34 of those years now in Australia. My original start was in advanced digital and laser technology within the nuclear submarine service of the US during the Cold War. And that just grew and grew. And then when I got here, it just developed into the electrical industry. So this product that we've developed has actually been built within the industry, from the industry. So it wasn't a software company saying you should do this, you should do that. We actually built it from the ground up from the industry with a lot of industry support. So the single biggest, most dangerous thing on your construction site is electricity. It's the only thing that's going to kill, well, it's not the only thing that's going to kill you, but it has the potential to kill you. It has the potential to burn your asset down. And yet, you wouldn't believe it, but there's no oversight. So plumbers, I was talking to a plumber today, and he said, oh, when we finish our job, we have to have an inspector come in. You got form work, you got trenches for footings, and they have to have an inspector come in and check and make sure it's right. The electrical industry has nothing. You get an electrician, they come in, They do the job, they give you the invoice, they said, she's all sweet, and he leaves, okay? So that's a shocker, isn't it? So what we've got is we've got standards that take and rule over this. So we have heaps of federal standards. We have our 2 electrical Australian standards, the electrical wiring rules and the testing rules, and those are what every electrician should follow. So there's federal processes and laws and regulations around this. We have the Workplace Health and Safety Act, the Safety Bill, and also the safety regulations. So those are federal documents that control what electricians do on everything from residential through construction to mining to oil and gas to defense. It's all the same. And then we're backed up by the state rules, regulations, and acts as well, which then reiterate this. So it's not like we don't have the framework, we just don't have the oversight. So this is a current test sheet out in the market. So this was done on a site on the Sunshine Coast by a very reputable electrical contractor. These 2 electricians down here at the bottom, they actually signed off on this and said, yep, all 18 of those circuits are all good to go. They hand it to the site manager. The site manager gets it and goes, well, I guess they are. And then that document has to be stored for 7 years because the electrical regulator can come back and request that document up to 7 years. So the issue we have on this document was all 18 of these circuits failed the Australian standards, not only in one place, but multiple places. And as well, you see the little scratch marks over there in that 3rd column over, and it's got a 4 or something, 11 before. So you try to take that into court, it would not be admissible evidence. The prosecuting attorney for the Electrical Safety Office would then throw that out. And as well, we could have done that document up and post-dated it 5 minutes before we walked into court. So there's no validity in these documents. So this is where one of the sections failed, that's where another section failed, and then as I said, you've got that chicken scratch over there. And it's like, who did that, at what time did they do that, when did that change, and why did that change? So the current systems we have available, other than that paper, are cloud-based systems, contractor software systems that they input data into. And I'll talk about the failures in these as well. You have the good old Excel spreadsheet. I've seen a lot of these in my time. So, you know, you get people putting the information in there. Once again, not a great system. You have different meters that are out on the market now. Once again, it shoots it up to the cloud, stores it in the cloud. Everybody thinks they're great, but not from a legal perspective. Okay? So we look at the cloud system. So the cloud system is a cloud-based server can actually be modified and tampered with, okay? It doesn't perform like in blockchain, an immutable data record, okay? So there's the issue with that, is that can be changed. Excel spreadsheet, everybody can change those at any stage they want. Same way with the meter, that can be changed at any stage, okay? That information just sits on a cloud server, not secure, and it can be changed at any given time. So basically, at the bottom of there, it says, so those provide no immunity whatsoever, those 3 systems. So this actually was from the Electrical Safety Summit last year. Every year the state government gets together and they have this big electrical safety summit and they show out their last year's readings. So that's why that says 2021, because they're always a year behind for some reason. And you can see the highest prosecution rate, and it has been for decades, is incorrect testing or non-compliance testing, okay? Or not testing at all. The latest statistic that I read 2 days ago from the largest National Electrical Contractors Association stated that 4 out of 5 contractors are negligent or do not test at all. So the process is because of those regulations, we're required to test at the end of that job to make sure it's safe, won't catch fire, won't electrocute anybody, and it's fully compliant to the Australian standards. This is the process that's not happening at the moment. And if it is, it's being done very bad. So our system is an actual app that the electricians use. So they put their data into the app, online or offline, and it validates all that back to the Australian standards. So we have the only certified AS3000, 3017 product in the entire planet, which is pretty cool. And it's also approved by every state electrical regulator. So now we have the assurance that what the electrician's doing in the field Plus, now we have a secure audit trail back to that electrician, okay? So then also what we provide on the back end is now the contractor and the customers have clear visibility over to what's passed, what started, what place it's up to, and what those readings are. So if something fails, it's already highlighted and includes the electrician's notes on what's going to happen with that circuit to make it compliant. So now we have a completely auditable system. And when we sign off on these documents now, in Queensland they're called a certificate of compliance, we actually store that as an immutable data record. So our information goes on the server on here, and yes, this could be tampered with, but our security for everybody up and down this pipeline, from the electrician to the contractor, to the site manager, to the construction company, to the asset owner, to their directors, and now even to the insurance companies, is this other document that we've housed across into the immutable data record storage. So that's exactly what we do. We are out for our raise round at the moment. So we're out on our seed round at the moment, which is $1.3 million. We've got some great commercial people who are interested in that as well, which we're just waiting on a call back from them. But happy to talk to anybody about anything electrically compliance, or just about the US, or whatever you want to talk about. Always happy to have a chat. Thanks.
Thank you. Our final picture is our very own David Hayfield. David's going to be talking about our contact product diligence. So I'll hand it over to David.
Oh, just hold it.
Oh, I'll copy on you. I'll swap you.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Kurt. Looks like we've got an amazing app there, and that's just what we need in the industry, isn't it? We didn't really plan it this way, but there have been two really solid themes tonight: trust and confidence. It sort of came together through all of the presentations, really. And when the context to what this pitch is about is indeed trust and confidence. As lawyers, and I with Michael head up the compliance side of Helix, and we deal more with the financial aspects of the construction world. But when our lawyers are dealing with contracts, they want to know who the parties are. They're often faced with contractual situations where the contracts are no longer valid, and they need to refer to 5, 6 different sources of information. So what we decided to do was bring those sources of information together in one-stop shop, you might say. Is that working, Emily? Is it the arrow one?
Has it gone on the blink, has it?
Has it gone on the blink for me? Lucky last.
Oh, I'm glad.
I've got it on my iPad.
Oh, no.
Is there a manual version? Oh.
Yeah, I'll bring the
keyboard.
I'll tap for it.
Yeah, great. Well, it should be obvious. So we wanted to give you some context to the product itself. Keep going, Emily, please. Yeah. We're a 20-person firm now, very disparate skill sets, financial, commercial, and of course legal. So we're drawing on all of that experience and the many different assignments and client issues that we deal with on a daily basis. Yeah, shall I come over there and flick it? Would that be easy? Oh, is it working? Oh, there it is, great. Now, unfortunately, I am from the industry, nearly 10 years as the CFO of a construction group. And unfortunately, and it isn't all of our making, there are a lot of insolvencies in the industry right now. We are, the facts show, not particularly in Queensland, but across the country, we are one of the most risk industries out there. We're about 15% higher than the average in terms of the insolvency rate. But it is a huge industry. and the numbers, we're probably the biggest employer other than government across the country when you go end-to-end in construction. So there are many players in the industry. And when I want to feel the pulse of the construction industry, there's one person I look out for, and it's Scott Hutchinson, the chairman, CEO of Hutchinson Builders, 50 years in the industry, a 3 billion turnover group, most of which, I think all is in Australia. So they know the industry really well. And he was, just last week, he was asked to do a Q&A interview with the Fin Review. And it was published, and he doesn't pull his punches. When do we expect insolvency to stabilise? And he expects problems to continue throughout this year and all of next year. And that's a pretty horrific prospect. And they are pulling out of contracts where they had fixed prices and the clients won't renegotiate. These are unprecedented events really in our industry. He was asked, are we seeing an end to fixed price contracts? That is one of the major issues in the industry, fixing the price of a contract at time naught and having to keep to that price throughout a very long period. What industry, can anybody name an industry where I'll give you a price today for something I will deliver in nearly a year to 18 months' time? There are just no industries where anyone would commit to that. Does he see the risk metronome switching more to the client than the builder? And he does, but he thinks it will swing back the other way in this, I think it's in this comment. No, in this one, security payments we've talked about a little bit tonight, and trusts. And the federal government are now looking at bringing in systems of particularly retention trusts into the construction industry. And unfortunately, Scott feels that subcontractors are their own worst enemy. So from a builder's point of view, sorry. Is this meant? This is meant to test me. Oh, is it power? Sorry, your battery. But to finish off on Scott Hutchinson, he feels that the industry is still very unstable. He feels the confidence levels have gone, and that information and the ability to look forward and see what's going to happen in the industry just isn't there anymore. So when we get the screen back up, it doesn't worry if we don't. The diligence product, which is meant to be the bulk of my pitch, it's an online software tool, and it brings together 5 different databases. Some of them are behind paywalls, so most people will know about ASIC, the Australian Securities Investment Commission, and we all have to lodge information there, but you have to pay for it. It's $44 to get the most simple of searches. Who owns the business? What's the share capital? So what we've done is brought together 5 of the major databases into one product. And when you run a diligence report, you can see instantly who owns the business. Are they experienced in that business? How long have they been directors? Does the business hold a license for the work that they're tendering to you for? Have they been sued, or are they litigious? Have they sued other people? It brings together all of the court data throughout Australia into one PDF report. It's all searchable, and you can extract from it. I would like to show you some screens if we can get there, so looks like we're nearly there. And in one source, and when I was at my previous employer, if we had this available to us, it's only really been available for 2 years. If we had this available to us, I'll flick through the area. I would have insisted as the CFO that every contract we let, this report should have been run as part of the setting up of that account and checking out the subcontractors. And of course, the people who fund our industry, banks, mezzanine lenders, they've lost confidence as well. They want assurance, they want due diligence performing at every level of the process now. And with diligence, we feel it's not the complete solution. It does need the human input if you want to carry out a full due diligence investigation into someone. But let's have a look at some of the screens. So in this case, you can see on this screen, which is the entry screen into the product, we can see when the company was formed, who owns the business, director information, and we give you a high-level view of whether they are likely to be a risky partner for your business. And we try and answer, and we do, I think, in almost all the cases we've seen, we answer these 5 questions. Do they have the license to carry out the right work? If they do, there's a link in the report that takes you out to where that license is sourced. Do they have a track record for not paying? Have they been sued by anyone? Are they reported as being a late payer? Is the management team experienced? Have they been directors a long time or only recently? Are they local? Are they offshore? Who is signing your contract? And who's got the power to make decisions? And we've tried to bring, as I mentioned earlier, all of those 5 different sources of data. Some are behind paywalls, some are just very difficult to use, like the PPSR register, for example. And it really does save a lot of time. Within seconds, you can have all of that information in one place. You get an indication or of any red flags. And without this, you really do struggle to collaborate across your business and get all of that information into one place. So with an ABN, the process starts, you run the search. You can do a light search or the full diligence search. If you've dealt with the business before and you just want to check if the directors are the same, if the registered office is the same, then you would just run the light search. Sorry, Emily, it's gone again. Let's have a look. Is that working? I think the batteries might be, if you wouldn't mind clicking it on. Oh, it went to the right. And we can download the report as a PDF. It is written in plain English. You don't need a law degree. We would like you to use a lawyer as often as you can. But it is in plain English, very good graphics and indicators. So if they have a QBCC license, if it's a Queensland contractor, they will need a license of some sort. It provides you with the license, hyperlinks out to where the license sits so that you can see the detail for yourself. In this case, it is multiplex, but yes, they had 154 court actions. They are all listed, and where data is available, we can take you out to that so that you can see why that case occurred and whether it's still on foot. Adjudications, of course, when we argue in the construction industry, we are meant not to go straight to court. We're meant to go through adjudicators, and the full decision is searchable. What was the issue at hand? Who won the case? What was the amount involved? Really valuable if you're trying to understand the psyche of a business and who you're dealing with. Courts cases as well, and across the whole gamut of issues that we face, from personal injuries, workplace, health and safety issues, environmental, you really do want to know that you're dealing with a well-organized business that's ethical and safe, and they have a good history. Everything searchable and linked. Company notices, they're very difficult to really understand on the ASIC website. You have to wrap through multiple pages to get to the information. Well, they're all listed here in chronological order and very easy to follow and link and see if it's important to your situation. So we think it's a very broad product. We think it's a very useful product. It's for a low fixed fee, and I know Janelle's willing to negotiate for volume users. And detailed advice, it sits behind it as well if you need to speak to a human and we'd rather you speak to a Helix human if that was the case. So please don't hesitate to ask us for a login, and we'll give you a free search so that you can search yourselves and see if it's relevant to your business. Terrific. Sorry for the tech issues there. Probably me.